Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy, and today is March 5th of 2024, and we're celebrating Tuesday of the third week of Lent. Today's gospel is a little long. It comes to us from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 18, verses 21 through 35. Peter approached Jesus and asked him, "Lord, if my brother sins against me, how often must I forgive him? As many as 7 times?" Jesus answered, "I say to you, not 7 times, but 77 times. That is why the kingdom of heaven may be likened to a king who decided to settle accounts with his servants. When he began the accounting, a debtor was brought before him who owed him a huge amount. Since he had no way of paying it back, his master ordered him to be sold, along with his wife, his children, and all his property, in payment of the debt. At that, the servant fell down, did him homage, and said, 'Be patient with me, and I will pay you back in full.' Moved with compassion, the master of that servant let him go and forgave him the loan. When that servant had left, he found one of his fellow servants, who owed him a much smaller amount. He seized him and started to choke him, demanding, 'Pay back what you owe.' Falling to his knees, his fellow servant begged him, 'Be patient with me, and I will pay you back.' But he refused. Instead, he had him put in prison until he paid back the debt. Now, when his fellow servants saw what had happened, they were deeply disturbed, and went to their master and reported the whole affair. His master summoned him and said to him, 'You wicked servant, I forgave you your entire debt because you begged me to. Should you not have had pity on your fellow servant, as I had pity on you?' Then in his anger, his master handed him over to the torturers until he should pay back the whole debt. So will my heavenly Father do to you, unless each of you forgives your brother from your heart." In today's gospel, we heard the parable of the unforgiving servant. Now Christ preaches this parable after Peter asks him how often he needs to forgive someone who sins against him. We can consider 2 parts. First, the parable itself and what it says about God's mercy. And then second, how we need to apply this to our own lives. First, the parable provides us with some great insights into how God's mercy has been with us. Consider 3 things. First, the debt the servant owes. We're told that the servant owed the king a huge amount, and that really doesn't do justice to the original, which reads myrion talenton, literally 10,000 talents. Now, records tell us that 1 talent would have been the wages of 16 years of work. And we're told that he owes 10,000 of them. So in order to pay his debt, we're talking about working maybe 160, 170,000 years at least, not taking into account that he's got to buy food and things. So we could ask ourselves, how on earth do you get such a debt? I mean, I don't know, maybe he's an addict, maybe he was, bought an amazing house, but in the end, there's really no reason except for his own stupidity and probably his sinfulness. Now, how does the steward respond? He throws the best thing he can think of at the boss. "Be patient with me and I will pay you back in full." I don't think the master could wait 200,000 years. But this is our position with respect to God. Even the tiniest sin, if there is such thing as a tiny sin, every little sin we commit is a great insult to his majesty and his goodness. He's given us everything, and yet we dare to throw it back in his face. We use the very gifts he's given us against him. But what's the master's response? Moved with compassion, the master of that servant let him go and forgave him the debt. Notice that the master simply forgives the debt. That wasn't what the steward offered. The steward offered to pay him back, and he doesn't even negotiate. He goes far beyond what the steward had dared to ask for, or even hope for, probably. The only thing he expects is that the servant appreciate the gift and be merciful to others in turn. Well, now this leads us to another important question. Well, how do we apply this to our own lives? Well, at first, the answer seems obvious. We got to forgive others. But often that's more difficult than it seems. C.S. Lewis wrote, "Everyone says forgiveness is a lovely idea until they have something to forgive." Everybody says forgiveness is a lovely idea until they have something to forgive. So we have to break it down into steps that are manageable. First, forgiveness means laying aside the resentment we have towards those people who hurt us. Second, it means renouncing or surrendering the right to revenge. And then third, to find the strength to respond with generosity, compassion, and love to the person who hurt us. If we don't forgive, we will remain prisoners of anger and bitterness. That desire for revenge will consume us, and it takes its toll on our lives. On the other hand, if we forgive, then not only do we set ourselves free, but we also gain God's forgiveness. A good example of this can be seen in the life of Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta. In 1995, the atheist Christopher Hitchens published a very vulgar book attacking her and her work. Basically, he tried to destroy everything she had done, discredit her life, and show her as a deluded, deranged woman. So a woman volunteer went to Calcutta around that time, and she asked Mother Teresa about it. Now again, she's volunteering for the Missionaries of Charity, but Mother Teresa looked puzzled. When the woman says, what do you think of this book? She just simply replied. She says, "Oh, the book. Yes, I haven't read it. It matters not. He's forgiven." It doesn't matter, basically. Said about a book that was literally that man's best effort to destroy everything Mother Teresa held dear. He was forgiven. Now to that reply, the woman in turn said, Mother, he knows that you've said he was forgiven, and he's kind of angry about that, because he says he doesn't need to be forgiven, and that he didn't ask you to forgive him. And then the woman writes, recalling Mother Teresa's response. She said these are this woman's words. She said, "Mother Teresa said to me, as though I didn't know what I was talking about. It's not I who forgives. It's God. God has forgiven him." A man who had done everything to destroy the works of one of his saints. She's a canonized saint. This man had done his best to destroy everything she had done. And this man didn't even want to be forgiven. And yet, what does St. Teresa of Calcutta say? God forgave him. How much more will God forgive us who really do want to be forgiven? Our forgiveness of ourselves and of others is the manifestation and the making concrete of what we've received from God. God's merciful love has always and will always protect us. It's in that mercy that we find the strength to re-examine our sufferings in the light of Christ. It's there we find the strength to forgive those who offend us. So today, let's ask through the intercession of Mary, Mother of Mercy, for the grace to forgive those who have wronged us, and so obtain God's forgiveness of our own sins.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed hearing the gospel and homily, I invite you to share it with someone you know who may also find it rewarding, and also to subscribe to the Catholic Voice channel. Please see in the description below if you would like to receive a text message for each daily gospel and homily. Please also keep our missionary priests throughout the world in your prayers. Thank you, and God bless.